Next up is Engineering Interest Group, and they created a visual instruction application for the hearing impaired cafe trainees.
Hi everyone, good morning everyone. I hope you all can see my screen. And today, let me give a little bit of self-introduction and we'll go into our presentation. So we are Team Engineering Interest Group from Ngee Ann Poly School of Engineering, and we have created a kitchen communication system, or in short, KitCom. And this kitchen communication system is used for a cafe. So the team consists of myself, I'm the team lead, Ashraf, the technical lead, Justin, our project lead, Xavier, our admin lead, Ronnie, our communication lead, as well as Dinesh, our mentor. So to get started, we needed to work with a community partner to ensure that our project is relevant to our community. And so who is our community partner? It is actually the APSN, Cafe for All, in short, and is in full form is Association for Persons with Special Needs. So as the name suggests, the community partner are working with trainees, with people with special needs. So how it looks like is actually an Endos Cafe environment to prepare the trainees or the students in the Endos in the cafe training environment to actually know what they need to do when they are out in the real Endos Cafe to prepare food as well as plate the different food. Well, the target students are students with special needs. So they are those who may have mild intellectual disability or hearing disability, but they are at the cafe trying to learn how to plate food, how to take orders and things like that. And some of these students have not very high language ability, so they may not be able to communicate well in the different languages that we commonly communicate with. So we are trying to develop a kitchen communication system to assist the trainers in this area, but also we want to allow the students to be as independent as possible so that they are able to work in the actual cafe environment. So the question is, how can we design a system so we can assist the cafe trainees in communicating with their trainers, but at the same time allow the trainees to be independent in operating the cafe itself? And so let me pass the time over to Justin to share a little bit more about our problem statement.
Okay, thank you, Zheng Xie. I will now be sharing the problem statement. At the beginning of our project, we were deliberating what our focus should be. After some rigorous discussions, we decided to choose this particular statement as it aligns with our interest and passion. The problem statement is that there are quite a handful of trainees working in the APSN cafe that have hearing difficulties. Some refuse to wear hearing aids or do not even have one. In the cafe, it is difficult to verbalize to the trainees the quantity that is needed to be prepared, especially during the peak period. This usually leads to a lot of confusion. The compulsory rule of wearing masks makes this even more of a challenge as the trainees are unable to lip read the instructors. Before delving into the solution, we decided to take a visit to the cafe to have a deeper understanding of the current situation. These are some of the pictures that we took. After looking at the situation and talking to some of the staff members, 3 problems popped up. These are hearing difficulties, the instructors being overworked, and the COVID-19 situations. For the hearing difficulties, there's a slight disconnect from when the orders are taken from the customers and communicated to the trainees. Due to their learning and hearing difficulties, there might be tidbits of information lost. This will lead to the next problem, which is the instructors being overworked. They are needed to reinforce the orders to the trainees as well as handle instructions step by step. As such, this is putting a tremendous amount of pressure onto the instructors to perform their tasks. Finally, the last problem, COVID-19, comes into play. The numerous safe distancing restrictions makes it hard for the trainees and instructors to interact, which might lead to further communications breakdown and confusion. I will now be passing my time to Ashraf, who will be presenting our solution.
Hi, my name is Ashraf, and I'll be presenting our solution. So the proposed solution is to design a browser-based system where instructors are able to enter required ingredients and instructions and equip all the trainees with the information. To achieve this, each trainee can either have a personalized instruction guide through an application on their phone, on their mobile phone, or through a central screen fixed on the desk. The system will be connected to the web, where it will retrieve the data from an AWS server. The solution will have a comprehensive step-by-step guide on how to prepare each dish. This is to avoid confusion for the users. The ingredients and logistics required for plating each dish and the location to obtain them will be shown on the browser-based web app. Most importantly, as we know that trainees often forget to wear PPE such as gloves, we will put in special reminders to remind trainees of the required at different steps. Last but not least, the main idea is to allow them to be independent. Trainees should independently recognize and select the dishes where he or she needs to plate, allowing the trainees to learn how to identify dishes as well. So we'll be moving on to the demo of the app. So when you start the app, you'll see this screen which tells you to select your role. So you select trainee role, and then it will load the program. And then after loading the program, you'll be dropped into the main dishes menu, which you will be able to select from 3 different mains, which is beef, chicken, and fish. For this demo, we'll be clicking on the chicken mains. Afterwards, we will be choosing black pepper chicken as our main. At this point, we can choose your first slide. So for our first slide, for this example, we'll be choosing coleslaw. And then for our second side, we'll be choosing French fries. At this point, the trainees will get a pop-up, a page saying that they should prepare the dishware. So for this example, they just need to take a round plate. And afterwards, there will be instructions on how to plate the main dish, highlighting the area where this section of the food or this food needs to be put on the plate. And the rest continues for the sides. So the first side on the left and the second side on the right. All right, I'll be passing the time to Chen Jie, which will be explaining benefiting the end user.
To conclude, our proposed solution will allow instructors to be able to pass instructions easily to the trainees. And this will ensure that the instructors will not be stretched thin and be able to focus on their tasks. And we hope that the user will be able to engage fruitfully with the solution because they are able to interact with the system as well. So that sums up the whole presentation. Thank you very much, and I would like to invite any questions if there are. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Engineering Interest Group. That is an interesting presentation and very comprehensive, I must say. And definitely that is an area that has to be worked on. Perhaps the first question, would you have done anything differently? I understand you're using visuals, and is there anything that you might have done differently? Yeah.
I think one aspect that we might have done differently and what we are still working on right now with the EPSM people is to include something more interesting for people with intellectual disability in the sense of the graphics design. Because I think when we spoke to the cafe trainers itself, they say that some of their intellectual, they are in the age of like 20, 30, but they may not be mentally at that age. So they are looking at something like more fun in that sense and more colorful so that they are able to interact with it a little bit more and find more fun in using it. So that's something that we have been working on this while. Yeah.
All right. That sounds good. And could I just check and how have your team thought about how this would actually be deployed in the restaurant itself? Would there only be one system? Would everybody be crowding around the system, or would there be multiple points of access, or how would this work during deployment?
I think I can answer that question. So since it's in the web app, it will allow multiple points of access. So multiple users can use it at the same time. Yeah.
I see. Okay. And how do you think the solution can be developed further?
Right now, I would like to add the options to add like new dishes and menus. Since this is just a proto.io demo, we are still creating the web app on the server itself. So we're planning to make it more accessible to the trainers to add their own menus or games and things of that nature. Yeah. And also make the UI more refined.
All right. I have a question here. The attendant is asking, is it easy to add new dishes and menus?
Since you have not really tested it yet, I would say no, because right now we still have to manually add things in the code itself, because we have not created a interface to add the dishes and menus.
Yeah, so I'd like to add on. Actually, we actually plan to add an interface for the trainers as well, so they can edit the menus accordingly to the day's availability. Yeah, and new dishes for seasonal menus.
All right, so there is definitely some back-end work to be done before the day. And I have a next question, perhaps the last question. So do the trainees actually have to touch the tablet to advance to the next slide? Because that would then perhaps cause some hygiene concerns, perhaps?
So we are looking at two different ways. The first way is that the tablet is actually the trainee's personal device. So that will be his mobile phone, because it's a web app. You can connect to the web browser anytime. But at this point, yes, they will need to touch the mobile phone, but that will be the personal mobile phone of the trainee himself lah. But we can look at other ways of visual control as well as voice control. But that will subject to the ability of the trainees to do that, because it depends on how much they are able to, how comfortable they are with those assistive touch technologies. Yeah, hope that answers the question.
I see. That's right. Seems like you have given a lot of thought into that. All right. Thank you very much, Team Engineering Interest Group. That was awesome.